Welcome to the Creative Content Club podcast with me, Naomi Rose. If you are a business owner who wants to consistently create content that connects and converts into clients, this is the podcast for you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's get right into it. Hello, wonderful people. I hope you are having a great week. Today, I am actually recording the podcast with my windows open. So if you hear various different tractors or fighter pilot jets randomly, because we get a lot of fighter engines practicing over us because of where we are in the north of Yorkshire, I apologise, but it's just too damn hot to keep the windows closed today. I know there's all kinds of people that would say you should be closing your curtains, not opening the windows at all to keep the heat out. I am not like that. I like the fresh air. So I'm risking it for a biscuit, which actually, this was totally not set up in any way, but it leads quite nicely in today's episode of the Creative Content Club podcast. By the way, I'm Naomi Rose. I'm your host. And today I want to talk to you about the power of small talk in your content. Why am I talking about small talk? Love it, hate it. I'd really love to know what your thoughts are on small talk. How do you feel about it? Honestly, I am not a fan of it. I'm doing a podcast on something I'm not a fan on. I'm a fan of it in some situations, but if you put me in the hairdressers and I have to talk to my hairdresser for 4 hours because I have long hair, it takes a long time. There is a lot of work to do on it. And I have to make small talk for 4 hours. It ain't going to happen. I've got the capacity of a teacup for small talk. So I take my laptop and don't talk at all. I know her name, that's about it. I am quite happy with this arrangement. I generally find the hairdressers very awkward and small talk just adds to the awkwardness of it. But small talk is one of those things where we can forget about using it in our content. We feel that we need to be giving value and giving lots of really useful things all of the time. And we need to be educating, sharing our knowledge, sharing that we're an expert, getting people to know us. Conversations start from small questions, and this is where small talk can come into its own here. What we want to do with our content is give people an open door to walk through, to start getting to know who we are. But we also need to get to know them and understand a bit more about them. So sometimes this is where small talk can really, really help get that door open and start connecting with people and engaging with them on just random crap, to be honest. You could talk about pretty much anything. This is why I always say Brits always talk about the weather, because we don't like uncomfortable silences, but everyone has a thought on the weather. I've already mentioned it in the podcast today, and we're 3 minutes in, if that. So it's amazing how just talking about the weather can start a conversation with someone and go from there. It's just a matter of finding a mutual connection about how you can talk to your ideal clients. That's what small talk does. Now, I know I said I'm not a fan of small talk, and generally I'm not, but I also used to own a cafe, bar and bakery, and you learn how to connect with your customers and how to make conversations out of pretty much nothing sometimes. You don't necessarily ask them really hard questions when they come in, but you might go, how's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been doing? We'd talk about baking or something like that, because depending on what people offer up, I might ask questions like, what are you up to today, sort of thing. It just opens a door for people. That's all we're doing with this conversation starters. And this is where small talk can come into its own. So I want to talk to you about how you can use small talk in your content to build that connection and make more sales, because believe it or not, it really, really works. I get more results from small talk than I do from educational content. Although the educational content absolutely is that social proof that people need, the conversations start with my clients from that small talk idea. The first point I want to make today is small talk builds connections and connections build clients. All we want to do is start a conversation. Like I say, it's about opening that door for people to walk through, giving them the opportunity to engage with us. If you need conversation starters, drop me a DM on Instagram or LinkedIn. I am Naomi C. Rose. You can find me anywhere. The links are in the show notes. Come and just drop me a message and just say, convo, something like that. And I'll give you some ideas of how to start a question, but it can be anything as small as, like, let's take example, the weather today. Most people in the UK are melting because it's so warm. So you could have a conversation about favourite ice lollies or ice creams, something like that. Okay, what's your go-to ice cream in this weather? Something really dead simple that people will engage with. Or chocolate in the fridge, yes, no. Right? That sparks a debate. I put questions out like, how much would you pay for a cup of coffee? It's amazing how many people have an opinion on it. But something that people can really just open up to you, and you get to learn a bit more about your ideal client. Yes, it's not necessarily their inside leg measurement and everything about their business, but all you're doing is engaging with people, and you want to start that conversation with them, because then they will get to know you and you will get to know them, and you'll understand what matters to them. It could be even as simple as best summer tunes, or have you been watching this on the TV, or are you a cat or dog person? Something like that. You could, like, I share a lot about my dog Ruby as well as my cats on my socials, because it starts a conversation with people. People are more willing to talk about their pets in the very first stage than they are about their business. So sometimes it's building that connection and those mutual likes between each other that can really open up that opportunity to move on further with people and take that conversation to the next step. Which leads quite nicely into the second point in my how small talk can really benefit you. Whether you like it or hate it or not, it is a conversation starter. I've been hosting networking events. I've gone to a lot of networking events, some of which I've felt comfortable, some of which I felt very uncomfortable. And 15 years ago, going in and making small talk with strangers was my idea of a nightmare. Literally, I would turn up and I would be the quiet one in the corner and go away with nothing, because I was too scared to walk into that room, if I'm honest. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like I belonged. I thought that I would be judged. That's like a big, deep rooted thing for me. I'm not going to go into that now. We haven't got time. But actually, sometimes these conversation starters can really open people up. And usually, when it comes to conversation starters, rather than necessarily always thinking about an open-ended question. So the open-ended questions are questions that people have to give you an answer beyond yes or no. So a closed question, yes or no, actually can be a really good place to start, because all you're doing is getting people opinions. The next question should be a little bit more opening it up to a discussion. But what we want to do with these conversation starters in our content, so whether that's in a direct message or whether that's actually on one of your posts or in an email or in a poll even. Polls are brilliant for these kind of small talk conversation starters. We just want something that is really easy, that is low barrier entry, that people will come in and start a conversation with us. Something simple that they can engage with, that will stop them from scrolling past whatever you're posting, that will get them to click to open the email and make them think, because that puts you front of mind. So all we want to do is start that conversation. So if I'm starting a conversation in a message or a DM, I usually have a look at people's profile. If they're someone new to me, and I might make a comment about something they posted, or even just talking about their business, like something that will, like, I really like this, or I really like how you positioned it, or I like that tagline, I thought that was really good. And I'm being genuine about that. I'm not just making it up. I only comment on things I feel genuine, or I think that might open up a conversation. I'm not looking to make a sale. I'm just looking to build that connection point and really get to know people and get to understand them. And there might be an opportunity to connect further and turn them into clients later on down the line. But that initial conversation just needs to be super light touch, something that gives people the opportunity to open up a bit more or to comment on what they're talking about. So think about what it is that you're putting out in your content and your type of clients and what will get their conversation going. Make it really low level, something that they can easily comment on. Think about what things. So whether you're a commenter or not on socials, or whether you reply back to emails, whatever it might be, if you don't, what are the things that gets you to stop the scroll and think? That's what we're aiming for. We want things that make people think. And often it's really non-business related stuff sometimes. This kind of leads on to my third point about the power of small talk, but it makes you relatable and relevant. What we're doing with small talk is we're building a connection. We're building a link between us and our ideal client. We are showing that we might understand them a little bit, but also giving them the opportunity to understand us and feel like they might know us and know a little bit more information about us. Even really simple things. I mean, I often relate everything to food because I've even got lemon earrings in today. So it could be even silly things about, I've posted comments like, is it too early to get into your pajamas and hoodie at 2:00 on a Friday? Believe me, that opens up a conversation. There are all kinds of conversations that go around. The amount of business owners that had actually been in their pajamas all day was quite surprising. So again, it's just making you relevant and relatable to people that people can connect with you on. Was it about business? Kind of, because I'm opening up a conversation to my ideal clients about the things that they really like. And for a lot of online business owners and solo entrepreneurs, we like to wear loungewear at home, and that's a mutual thing we can talk about. So it makes you relatable and relevant. People can get you, people can understand you, feel like that you're not always this shiny person that they look up to that's got everything perfect, but they can feel like you're like them. They can feel like they can connect with you, and you're not afraid to share that relevance with them. You're not afraid to share those inside things. The more you get to know people and open up with these small talk conversations, the more likely you are to make sales longer term. Because again, you're just building that connection. You're telling a bit more about yourself. When I used to work back in offices, my entire office could not believe I had never had a curly whirly in my life, right? I didn't even really know what one was, to be honest. I was sheltered when it came to confectionery in my younger years. Believe me, the shock of that. I was then definitely sent home to go and eat one at that point. But again, it's random stuff that gets people talking and opens them up. And then when you share stuff that is relating to business that you can help them with, they're more likely to listen because they know that you're relevant to them. Sorry, I've got a tractor going past. Hopefully you can't hear that too much and the recording will cut that out. I'm in the country. What can you say? Tractors I get more of than horses than cars. This leads me on to the fourth point, not the tractors and cars, by the way. Again, small talk. I'm in the country. I can see sheep from here and I can hear the cows. Um, welcome to my world. Point number 4. And I've already said this a few times, but not everything you post has to teach or sell. It's not about that all the time. We can often feel like we get into the mindset that if we're not trying to educate, share knowledge, position ourselves as a business owner, show that we know the most, that we're putting our offer out there, sharing our lead magnet, then it's a waste of time putting that content out there. It's just not worth it. But it's not true, because often if we're just sharing all of that educational, here I am, here's the knowledge content, people aren't really going to see you or hear your personality. They're not going to really know whether you're the right fit for them because we're not unique in what we do. None of us are unique in what we do. There are other people that do what we do. That is totally okay. But people buy from people that they like. They need to get to know you and understand who you are, your personality, your humour, the way you come across. Maybe you don't work in a traditional sense. Maybe you're neurodivergent and you share a lot of those things that happen when you're not in that field. I talk about being dyslexic, and yet here I am and I write content. and I love doing it. But yeah, half the time my sentences don't make any bloody sense. But that's just, again, people getting to know who I am and share those little bits of insights that people might then get to know you. When you're sharing those bits of knowledge and that little bit of small talk and asking for those questions, it's not about teaching people, it's about getting to know them and making you relevant. So think about some of those conversation starters, those little quirks that make you you, or some of the things you think that your audience might engage with in terms of what you have to offer. It's not even what you have to offer, really. I mean, it's about who you are. The kind of conversation you might pick up to your friend and say, I did this really random thing today. It could be what you're watching at the cinema, anything like that. I am going to the cinema tonight, as it may happen. Anyway, again, I digress, but I feel this is necessary for a podcast like this to keep digressing into the world of small talk, because this is giving you content ideas that you can absolutely use. So my final point, because sometimes we just can't think of what we want to put out there in terms of content. Now, obviously, I'm a big advocate for planning. When it comes to content, I love you to plan. Figure out what it is that you want to say, and so your ideal clients know exactly what you're doing. But sometimes we just can't come up with what we want to get out there. So this is when you can use these little conversation starters, this bit of small talk, to show up, even when you don't want to. Clocking up early on a Monday to drink a glass of Pimm's. Why not? It's blooming hot out there and I feel like a refreshing drink. Something like that, because that will probably get people engaging and talking. How many people are working in the weather? Put your hands up. Something really, really low engagement. You don't have to, like I say, you don't have to sell everything every single time and share all of the knowledge you have in the whole wide world all of the time. Sometimes you just need to make connections. Like, I put posts up of my dog quite regularly. I share pictures going out for a run. I ask random questions about, all kinds of things. Sometimes I do that because I think actually that would be a good conversation starter. I'm interested in that. That might be fun. Scared of the dentist? Yes, no. That's been a great question. That's got some real good conversations. I want you, and I'm going to challenge you this week, and I want you to tag me in. So tag me in. I am Naomi C. Rose on Insta and on LinkedIn with some of your small talk questions. I want to see them because I want to show that actually this content can help you grow your social media, get people talking as well, and open up the doors to more connections and more clients. Because you're sharing your values, you're sharing your likes, and you're sharing what you do. So that's my challenge to you this week. Yeah, I'm giving you a challenge. You got an action from this podcast, and I really want you to do that. But come and tag me in a small talk post. And like I say, don't know what to type in terms of small talk, don't know what to share. Drop me a DM with the word convo. Yeah, like conversation, but shorter. Or you can write conversation. I'm a shortener kind of person. I hope that has been helpful for you to think about how you can build more of your personality and use small talk to your advantage in your content. I'll be back again next week with another episode. If you are liking these, please do like, rate, review, and share with all of your friends, family, and anyone who would be interested, because it will help get this out to more people that need help with creating content that converts into clients consistently. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening to the Creative Content Club podcast with me, Naomi Rose. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this podcast a review. If this episode gave you clarity or sparked a new idea, I'd really appreciate it if you could share it with someone else who would find it useful. If you haven't already, give me a follow on Instagram and come and connect with me on LinkedIn. And finally, don't forget to check out the show notes to take my quiz to find out exactly why your content isn't converting into clients. Thanks again for listening, and I'll be back again next week with another episode.